The electorate's changed. Now independents, like myself, I'm an independent, we're the largest and fastest growing group of voters in the country. We can't participate in the primaries. And when that happens, you have a system where only a small group of voters are impacting on deciding who gets through the primary. And that's creating very, very unrepresentative elections and a very, very unrepresentative government. We're working to change that.
Where do we rank in voter turnout? Yeah, last. Yes, that is not top 10. 6 of the states with the highest voter turnout in the 2022 elections had open primaries or nonpartisan primaries.
Most people, and I would view the fact that I'm sitting here as a mayor right now and didn't lose in 2020 is testament to the fact that most people are not in the vocal, angry extremes. Most people are in between there somewhere, but they're not as loud. And so if you're a candidate and you have the opportunity to appeal to everybody and you're incentivized to appeal to everybody, you're going to end up with candidates on the ballot in November who have, I think, a much more mainstream, consensus-driven approach to governance rather than the candidates who feel like they've got to appeal to the angriest group to get on their side to get out and work for them in a primary.
From my years in the legislature, and I think AJ and I both did this, I think we both found that the best legislation that I would say that I got through, I think you would say the same, was the ones where we worked across the aisle and built consensus. That's really hard to do with supermajorities. And right now, I am a Republican, and we're seeing a Republican supermajority, but remember, for literally decades and decades and decades, we had the same thing on the other side. You couldn't find a Republican under a rock in the state. But somehow we have a real hard time coming to the middle. But the middle is where the answers are. And in general, when I would go out to town halls or talk to people or meet constituents, they don't want the extremes. They really want people that'll work together in a bipartisan manner in the middle. And our system doesn't work for that. It just doesn't. So when you look at who's showing up in primary elections, it's not necessarily the people that are going to be affected because they don't feel like they're represented. So when we have almost 20% of our electorate in Oklahoma is independent, and let's give the Democrat Party some kudos. They said they could vote in their elections. They didn't have to. The Republican Party has not done that. So in our state, it's up to the parties to decide that. But basically, 80% of our races are decided before you ever get to a general election. So that means a large segment of our population is totally disenfranchised from ever having a say. And that leads to apathy. And I think all of us would feel, one of the most important things I feel like I did with my kids when they were little is I never went to vote without taking them with me. Because I wanted them to see that this is a blessing we have in America. And I'd tell them about how if you went in Iran, you had to put your thumb in a pot of blue ink. And, just would talk to them about those kind of things. Why wouldn't we want the same things for our neighbors across the street? Why wouldn't we believe that when more people vote and feel like their vote matters, that we wouldn't have better government and better state? That's why we're here.
When you are elected by your entire constituency, that's who's voting in an open primary, then you are accountable to your entire constituency. So you are far, far less likely to have the type of views that are outside the norm because you have to be representative. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a moderate, but what it does mean is that you are representing everybody who lives in your district, and your values and your agenda is set by them, not by the state party, not by the national party, but by the people who voted for you or who will vote for you. And that's the key to making sure that we have accountability in any state, including in Oklahoma.
I'm a convert to this. When this was brought up in Tulsa to create nonpartisan elections, I campaigned against it. And I did so because I was of the mistaken belief that political parties help turn more people out, that's fundamentally their job, is to educate voters and get voters to turn out on election day. And yet, what we've seen in Tulsa in the 10 years that we've had nonpartisan elections is that we've had an increase in voter turnout. We've had a dramatic increase in young voter turnout in that period of time. And I think we have better results now. We have a better city council right now than we've ever had before. And that is all a function of everybody being up there and voters getting to pick who they want out of all the possible options rather than being limited by who happens to be in their political party on a given ballot.